I'm sitting in my own living room, looking at my two children and their spouses like they're strangers I just met on the street. Harrison, my eldest at 42, is holding a document like it's the deed to heaven itself. His steel gray suit probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. And his expression? God, that expression. It's the same one Carl used to wear when closing a difficult business deal. Cold, calculated, final. "Mom," he says, and I hate how that word sounds coming from his mouth right now. Dad's will is very clear. This house belongs to Riley and me. Riley, my baby girl at 38, stands next to her brother, her eyes fixed on some invisible spot on the carpet. The same carpet where she took her first steps, where we built blanket forts on rainy Saturdays, where Carl and I danced on our 20th anniversary while the kids laughed and recorded us on their phones. That was only 5 years ago. It feels like a lifetime. Miranda, Harrison's wife, sits perched on the edge of the sofa, my sofa, scrolling through her phone like this is just another tedious appointment on her calendar. And Jackson, Riley's husband, at least has the decency to look uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot near the doorway like he's planning his escape route. "I don't understand," I hear myself say, though my voice sounds distant, like it's coming from underwater. "Your father and I discussed our plans extensively. He assured me everything was taken care of." Harrison exchanges a look with Riley. It's one of those sibling telepathy moments I used to find endearing when they were kids. Now it just feels exclusionary, conspiratorial. "Well, Mom," Harrison continues, his tone dripping with the kind of patience you'd use with a confused child. "Dad did take care of things. He made very specific provisions in his will. The house here in Sacramento, valued at approximately $920,000, goes to Riley and myself, jointly." Each word lands like a slap. $920,000. As if our home, our life, the place where I held Carl's hand through 4 months of hell, could be reduced to a number. "The cabin at Lake Tahoe," Harrison continues, consulting his papers like he's reading a grocery list, "valued at $680,000, also goes to us. The joint savings account, approximately $85,000, will be distributed between Riley and myself as well." I feel my fingers grip the armrest of Carl's chair, the leather one where he spent countless evenings reading, planning, dreaming about our retirement. The leather is worn smooth from years of his hands in the exact same position. I press my palm against it now, trying to find comfort in that familiar texture. "And what about me?" I ask quietly. Riley flinches. Good. At least she still has some conscience left. "Well, naturally," Harrison says, and I swear there's a hint of satisfaction in his voice. "There's the life insurance policy, $250,000. That should be more than sufficient for your needs going forward." $250,000. For a 61-year-old woman who gave up her career as a graphic designer to support her husband's family. For someone who spent the last 3 months making impossible decisions about treatments and pain management while her children were too busy to visit. For someone who's supposed to rebuild her entire life from scratch. "I see," I manage to say, though I don't see it all. This can't be right. Carl promised me. Promised. "It's not personal, Mom." Riley finally speaks, her voice so soft I almost don't hear it. "Dad just wanted the family assets to stay within the bloodline. You understand, right?" Bloodline. 35 years of marriage, apparently, doesn't count as family. Holding your dying husband's hand through the long dark nights doesn't count. Being there when his children weren't doesn't count. "Of course," Miranda adds, finally looking up from her phone. "We're not heartless. You can stay in the house for 60 days while you make arrangements. We think that's more than fair." Fair. They think 60 days to dismantle my life is fair. I look around the room, taking in every detail I've memorized over 3.5 decades. The built-in bookshelf where Carl kept his collection of first edition Steinbecks. The bay window that looks out onto the garden we planned together, where we chose every rosebush, every stone in the pathway. The small brass frame on the side table, not of Harrison or Riley, but of Carl and me on our wedding day. Both of us laughing at something I can no longer remember. "There's one more thing," Harrison says, and something in his tone makes my stomach drop. He pulls another document from his folder, thinner than the will, but somehow more ominous. Dad accumulated significant medical bills during his final illness. The insurance covered most of it, but there's still approximately $167,000 outstanding. He pauses, letting that number sink in. Since you were his wife and made the medical decisions, the hospital is looking to you for payment. The room tilts slightly. $167,000 in debt, with only $250,000 from the insurance to cover it. That leaves me with $83,000 to rebuild my entire life. But surely the estate, I begin. The estate assets are tied up in probate, Harrison interrupts smoothly. And given the specific terms of the will, those debts are considered separate from the inherited properties. Unfortunately, that's how these things work legally. He snaps his folder shut with a decisive click. I'm sorry, Mom, but it is what it is. I stare at him, this man I brought into the world, who called me Mama until he was 7, who sobbed in my arms when his first girlfriend broke his heart at 16. I need some time to process this, I say finally. Of course, Harrison replies, already standing, already ready to leave. Take all the time you need. But remember, the 60-day clock starts tomorrow. He adjusts his tie. Hermes, I notice, probably $200. And those medical bills, well, the longer they sit, the more complicated things become. They file out like executives leaving a board meeting. Harrison first, phone already to his ear. Miranda following, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors. Jackson mutters something that might be, I'm sorry, as he passes. Only Riley pauses at the door, looking back at me with tears in her eyes. Mom, Go, Riley, I say. Not harshly, just empty. She goes. 3 months earlier, the fluorescent lights in Sacramento Memorial Hospital's ICU waiting room buzz constantly, a low electrical hum that I'll hear in my nightmares for years to come. I've been sitting in this same plastic chair for 6 hours, waiting for the doctors to finish Carl's latest round of tests. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The words still don't feel real, even though it's been 4 months since the diagnosis. Mrs. Morris? Dr. Patel appears in the doorway, his kind face showing the strain of too many difficult conversations. You can see him now. He's asking for you. Carl looks smaller somehow in the hospital bed, diminished by the tubes and monitors and the relentless beeping that marks each heartbeat like it might be the last. But when he sees me, his face lights up with that smile I fell in love with 37 years ago. There's my girl, he says, his voice rough but warm. I take his hand, careful of the IV line. How are you feeling? Like $1,000,000, he lies, and we both smile because that's our thing. Carl always joked, even at the worst times, especially at the worst times. The kids called, I tell him, settling into the chair beside his bed. Harrison said he'd try to visit this weekend. Try, Carl repeats, and something flickers across his face. Not anger exactly, disappointment maybe, or resignation. He's been trying for weeks now. He's busy with the firm. Brenda. Carl squeezes my hand, cutting off my automatic defense of our son. You don't have to make excuses for them. Not to me. I fall silent because he's right. Harrison has visited 3 times in 4 months. Riley 4, each visit lasting a couple of hours at most, filled with awkward silences and forced cheerfulness and barely concealed impatience to leave. I've been thinking, Carl says after a moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand, about what happens next, after. Don't, I start, but he shakes his head. We have to talk about it, honey. I need to know you'll be okay. His eyes, still sharp despite the ravages of chemotherapy, lock onto mine. I've been working with Thomas Brennan on updating the estate plan, making sure everything's in order. Carl, I don't want to think about, you'll keep the house, he continues as if I haven't spoken. And there's the life insurance, the savings. You'll be comfortable, more than comfortable. He pulls me closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Promise me something, Brenda. Promise me you won't let anyone push you around. Not about the house, not about money, not about anything. Who would push me around? He doesn't answer directly. Instead, he says, just promise me you'll trust your instincts. And if anything seems wrong, if anyone tries to tell you I wanted something you know I didn't want, question it, okay? Carl, you're scaring me. I'm not trying to scare you, baby. I'm trying to protect you. He reaches up, cups my cheek with his palm. I've taken care of everything. You just need to trust the process. Trust me. I do trust you. Good. He smiles, but there's something sad in it. Because things might get complicated before they get simple. But in the end, you'll understand. You'll see that I did this all for you. I don't understand what he means, but before I can ask, his eyes drift closed, exhaustion pulling him under. I sit there holding his hand, watching the rise and fall of his chest, and try not to think about a world without him in it. 2 months later, I'll remember this conversation word for word. And I still won't understand it. 1 week after the funeral, I'm sitting in Thomas Brennan's downtown office, surrounded by dark wood paneling and expensive art, feeling distinctly out of place in my simple black dress from Macy's. Thomas has been Carl's attorney for 12 years. A good man, Carl always said. Trustworthy. Which is why what happens next feels like such a betrayal. I'm so sorry for your loss, Brenda, Thomas says, and he does look genuinely sorry. That makes it worse somehow. Carl was a good friend as well as a client. Harrison and Miranda sit to my right, perfectly groomed, perfectly composed. Riley and Jackson on my left, Riley's hands twisting in her lap. Thomas opens the will and begins to read. The words wash over me like cold water. The house, the cabin, the savings, all going to Harrison and Riley. The life insurance, $250,000 for me. And then, almost as an afterthought, the medical debt, $167,000, Thomas reads, looking at me over his reading glasses. As Mrs. Morris was the primary decision-maker regarding Mr. Morris's care, these expenses fall under her responsibility. Wait, I interrupt, my voice sharper than I intended. Carl never mentioned medical debt. He said everything was taken care of. Thomas looks uncomfortable. Mrs. Morris, This is the will Carl signed 18 months ago. These were his wishes as clearly stated in this legal document. 18 months ago? I lean forward. But Carl said he'd been updating his estate plan, working with you on it. Thomas's expression shifts, confusion crossing his features. We did discuss some potential updates about 6 months ago, but Carl never followed through. He canceled our last 3 appointments. He shuffles through his papers. This is the most recent will on file. Harrison clears his throat. Mom, I know this is difficult, but Dad was very clear about what he wanted. The family assets needed to stay within the family. I am family, I say, and I hate how my voice cracks. You know what I mean. Harrison's tone is patient, condescending. The Morris family assets. Dad worked hard to build this legacy for Riley and me. I want to scream that I worked hard too. That I gave up my career when Harrison was born. That I supported Carl through every business decision, every late night, every risk. That I was there when it mattered. But I don't, because suddenly I'm exhausted. Bone deep, soul-crushing, exhausted. Thomas clears his throat. There is a provision that allows you to remain in the house for 60 days, Brenda, to give you time to make arrangements. How generous, I mutter. After the meeting, as we're leaving, I overhear Harrison talking to Miranda in the hallway. They don't know I've stopped to tie my shoe just around the corner. Finally, Harrison says, his voice low but clear. The old man finally did the right thing. The old man, that's what he calls his father, not Dad, not even Carl. The old man. I stay frozen, listening. Are you sure she doesn't know about the other stuff? Miranda asks. She doesn't know anything. Trust me, by the time she figures it out, if she ever does, it'll be too late. Their footsteps fade away, leaving me crouched in the hallway, pretending to tie a shoe that's already tied, wondering what other stuff they're talking about. Day 15 of 60, I'm in the attic, sorting through decades of accumulated memories, when I find it. The box is tucked behind old Christmas decorations and boxes of Harrison's childhood books. It's made of dark walnut, about the size of a shoebox, with Carl's initials carved into the lid. CM. I don't remember ever seeing it before. Inside is a key, brass, old-looking, worn smooth with handling. Attached to it is a small card, yellowed with age, from Wells Fargo Bank. On the back, written in Carl's distinctive scrawl, Deposit Box number 847, Downtown Branch. A safe deposit box I never knew existed. My phone rings, making me jump. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Morris? This is Robert Sullivan from Sullivan & Partners Attorneys. I frown. I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong number. Our attorney is Thomas Brennan. Ma'am, I was your husband's attorney. Thomas Brennan hasn't represented Carl in over 14 months. The attic suddenly feels very small, very hot. I don't understand. Mrs. Morris, Robert Sullivan's voice is calm, professional, but there's an urgency underneath. We need to talk. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? There are some things about your husband's estate that you need to know. Things that Thomas Brennan doesn't know about. I look down at the key in my hand, feel its weight, its significance. What kind of things? Things that will change everything, Mrs. Morris. Everything. Robert Sullivan's office is nothing like Thomas Brennan's polished downtown suite. It's tucked into a modest building in Midtown Sacramento with worn carpet and furniture that's seen better days. But there's something honest about it, something real that makes me trust this man I've never met before. Mrs. Morris, he says, standing to greet me. He's maybe 55, with silver hair and kind eyes that remind me of my father. Thank you for coming. You said you were Carl's attorney? I'm still trying to make sense of this. For the last 14 months, yes. He gestures to the chair across from his desk. Your husband came to me with concerns about Thomas Brennan's office. He suspected someone there was feeding information to your son Harrison. The words hit me like cold water. That's impossible. Thomas has been Carl's lawyer for years. Carl discovered that Thomas and Harrison had been playing golf together, regularly, and during one of those rounds, Thomas mentioned details about Carl's estate planning that should have been confidential. I sink into the chair, my legs suddenly unsteady. Carl never told me any of this. He didn't want to worry you while he was sick, and he needed to be sure of what Harrison was planning before he took action. Robert opens a file on his desk. Mrs. Morris, your husband was a very thorough man. When he suspected his son might try to manipulate his estate, he began documenting everything. He slides an envelope across the desk. It's cream-colored, expensive paper with my name written in Carl's handwriting across the front. He told me to give you this only after you found the key, which means you're ready for what comes next. My hands tremble as I open the envelope. Inside is a single sheet of paper and another key. This one clearly for a safe deposit box. Brenda, my love, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and our children have shown their true colors. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive, but I needed to be certain of what they were planning. Open the box at Wells Fargo. Everything you need to know is there. But Brenda, what you find is going to hurt. It's going to make you angry. That's okay. Feel what you need to feel. Then decide who you want to be. I love you. Always. Carl. The safe deposit box room at Wells Fargo is small and windowless. Just a table and a chair and fluorescent lighting that makes everything look harsh and clinical. Linda Chen, the bank officer, gives me a sympathetic smile as she unlocks box number 847. Take all the time you need, Mrs. Morris. Just press the button when you're ready to leave. The box is heavier than I expected. I set it on the table with shaking hands and lift the lid. Inside are 5 folders, each labeled in Carl's neat printing. The first folder is marked Financial Truth. I open it and stare at bank statements for an account I've never seen before. Morris Family Trust. The balance makes me blink and look again. $890,000. $890,000. Carl and I had nearly $1 million I knew nothing about. The statements show systematic transfers over the past 10 years. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Carl had been building this nest egg in secret, protecting it from what? From whom? The second folder is labeled Harrison in capital letters. My hands hover over it for a moment. Part of me doesn't want to know, but I open it anyway. Credit reports, debt collection notices, screenshots of online gambling accounts showing losses of hundreds of thousands of dollars, photos of Harrison entering casinos in Reno and Las Vegas, timestamps showing he'd been there when he told us he was working late or meeting clients. Total debt, $340,000. My son, my firstborn, the successful attorney, is drowning in gambling debt. There's an email exchange printed out between Harrison and someone named Vincent Torres. The subject line makes my stomach drop. Final warning, payment due. Harrison, you've got 2 weeks. If I don't see $50K by the 15th, we move to the next level of collection. And trust me, you don't want that. The next folder is thinner. Riley. Inside are documents about her startup, Technova Solutions, articles of dissolution dated 8 months ago, letters from investors demanding repayment, total amount owed, $180,000, but Riley still goes to work every day, still talks about her company like it's thriving. She's been lying to all of us, pretending everything is fine while her world falls apart. There's a note from a private investigator. Subject leaves home at 8 a.m. daily, goes to Starbucks on K Street, works on laptop until 5 p.m., returns home. No actual office location exists. My baby girl has been spending her days in a coffee shop, maintaining the illusion of success. The fourth folder makes my breath catch. The properties, mortgage documents, loan applications, all dated within the last 6 months of Carl's life. The house, our house, has a mortgage of $1.35 million against a value of $920,000. The cabin at Tahoe, $300,000 mortgage against a $680,000 value. Carl deliberately loaded these properties with debt. I do the math with trembling fingers. The properties Harrison and Riley think they're inheriting are worth $1.6 million, but they come with $2.25 million in debt. They're not inheriting assets. They're inheriting nearly $650,000 in debt. This is what Carl meant. This is the poison pill. The final folder is marked simply the truth. Inside is a will, not the one Thomas read to us. This one is dated March 12th of this year, just 3 months before Carl died. I read it twice, my heart pounding. I, Carl Morris, being of sound mind and body, hereby leave all assets, properties, and decision-making authority to my beloved wife, Brenda Morris. She alone shall determine what, if anything, our children shall receive from my estate. Witnessed, notarized, legal. All of it, the money, the properties, the debts, the choice, is mine. I sit in that small room for I don't know how long, surrounded by evidence of my children's greed and my husband's cunning, trying to understand what I'm supposed to do with this knowledge. I don't call first. I just show up at Harrison and Miranda's house in Granite Bay that evening, the folders tucked under my arm like weapons. Miranda answers the door in designer loungewear that probably costs more than my monthly utilities. Brenda, we weren't expecting... Where's Harrison? Something in my voice makes her step back. In the study. Is everything... I'm already walking past her. Harrison's on the phone when I open the study door without knocking. He looks up, annoyed, then sees my face and quickly ends the call. Mom, what are you... I drop the mortgage documents on his desk. Did you know? He stares at the papers, his face going pale. Know what? That Dad mortgaged both properties for more than they're worth. That you and Riley aren't inheriting assets. You're inheriting debt. Harrison grabs the papers, scanning them frantically. His hands start to shake. This can't be right. Dad wouldn't what? Protect his wife from his children trying to steal from her? We're not stealing. Harrison's voice rises. We're his children. You deserve nothing. The words explode out of me, shocking us both. You visited your dying father 4 times in 4 months. 4 times, Harrison. I was there every single day, watching him suffer, making impossible decisions. And where were you? Playing golf with Thomas Brennan, trying to find out how much you'd inherit? I heard you, I say quietly. After the will reading, you called him the old man. You said he finally did the right thing. Harrison's face crumbles. For a moment, he looks like the little boy who used to cry on my shoulder. Then his expression hardens. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The firm, the expectations, the gambling debts? I pull out the second folder. The $340,000 you owe? Is that the pressure you mean? All the color drains from his face. How did you— Your father knew, Harrison. He knew everything. The casinos, the online betting, the loan sharks threatening you. He knew, and instead of bailing you out like he always did, he decided to teach you a lesson. Miranda appears in the doorway. What's going on? Tell her, I say to Harrison. Tell your wife about the debt, about why you were so desperate to get your inheritance quickly. Harrison won't look at either of us. His hands are still shaking as he sets down the mortgage documents. How much do you owe? Miranda's voice is barely a whisper. When Harrison doesn't answer, I do. $340,000. And based on this email from Vincent Torres, someone very dangerous wants their money soon. Miranda sinks into a chair, her perfect composure finally cracking. Oh God, Harrison, you promised me you'd stopped. I tried, he says, and now he's crying. I tried, but I thought if I could just win back what I lost. You never win it back, I interrupt. Your father knew that. That's why he did this. I pull out the real will and set it on the desk. This is Dad's actual will, the one he signed 3 months before he died, the one that leaves everything to me, including the decision of what you get, if anything. Harrison reads it, his face going from pale to ashen. Mom, please, you don't understand. If I don't pay these people, then maybe you should have thought of that before you gambled away your future. I stand up, gathering my folders. You have 60 days to move out of my house. I suggest you use that time to figure out how to fix your own mess. Mom! But I'm already walking away. That night, Riley calls me. She's crying before she even says hello. Mom, Harrison told me about the debts, about the will, about everything. Did he tell you that I know about Technova too? Silence. Then more crying. Riley, why didn't you tell me your company failed? Because I was ashamed. The words burst out of her. You and Dad were always so proud of me. The successful entrepreneur, the Stanford graduate. How could I tell you I'd failed, that I'd lost everything? So you've been pretending for 8 months? I was going to fix it. I was going to start over. But then Dad got sick, and Harrison said if I helped him with the will, he'd help me pay back the investors. He said we'd both get enough to solve our problems. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of it all. And you believed him? I was desperate, Mom. I still am. I owe $180,000 to people who trusted me, people who gave me their retirement savings. Her voice breaks on that last part, and I hear the real Riley underneath all the pretense. The girl who used to bring me dandelions and call them roses, who cried when she accidentally stepped on a snail. Riley, I say softly, I can help you, but not if you keep lying to me, not if you keep choosing Harrison's schemes over doing what's right. I know I messed up. Jackson doesn't even know yet. I've been lying to him too. Then tell him, tonight. If your marriage is going to survive this, he needs to know the truth. What if he leaves me? What if he surprises you? I counter. What if he loves you enough to stand by you, even when things are hard? But he can't do that if you won't let him. There's a long pause, then, Mom, are you going to let Harrison and me lose everything? I think about Carl's letter, about how he said to give them a chance to earn back trust. Not with money, with actions. I don't know yet, sweetheart. I honestly don't know. Back at Robert Sullivan's office the next morning, he hands me one final envelope. Carl wrote this 6 weeks before he died. He made me promise not to give it to you until you'd seen everything else. The letter is longer this time, written on both sides of the paper. My dearest Brenda, if you've gotten this far, you know the truth about our children, and you're probably angry at me for keeping secrets. I'm sorry, but I needed you to discover this yourself, To see with your own eyes what I saw. Harrison and Riley weren't always like this. I remember Harrison at 7, so tender-hearted he cried over injured birds. Riley at 5, giving away her birthday money to the homeless man on our street. They were good kids, but somewhere along the way, I failed them. I gave them too much, too easily. I taught them that money solved problems instead of teaching them to solve problems themselves. That's my failure, not yours. You always knew when to say no. I was the one who couldn't. Now you have a choice to make. And Brenda, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're the wisest, kindest person I know. Whatever you decide will be the right decision. But I'll tell you what I hope. I hope you'll give them a chance to prove they can change. Not by giving them money, by giving them the opportunity to earn their way back, to become the people they were meant to be. You're the only one who can teach them that final lesson now, the lesson I should have taught them years ago, that the best inheritance isn't money. It's character. I love you more than words can say. Trust yourself. Always, Carl. I fold the letter carefully and look at Robert. What happens if I do nothing, if I just walk away from all of it? Then the real will stands. You inherit everything, including the debts on the properties. Harrison and Riley get nothing, and they'll still have to deal with their own debts without any help. And if I give them the properties, they inherit houses worth less than the mortgages. They'd likely face foreclosure and still owe the difference. So either way, they lose. Either way, Robert says gently, they face consequences. The question is, do those consequences come with a path to redemption or just punishment? I look out his window at the Sacramento skyline, thinking about the girl I was when I met Carl. Young, idealistic, believing that love could conquer anything. And the woman I am now, sitting in a lawyer's office, holding the power to destroy or save my children's futures. I need time to think, I say finally. Of course, but Brenda, whatever you decide, make sure it's what you want, not what you think Carl would want, not what the kids need. What do you need to move forward with your life? It's the first time anyone has asked me that question in 35 years, and I have absolutely no idea how to answer it. 1 week after discovering Carl's final letter, I'm standing outside Robert Sullivan's office building, watching my children arrive for the meeting I've called. I'm standing outside Robert Sullivan's office building, watching my children arrive for the meeting I've called. Harrison pulls up in his BMW, probably leased, I realize now, not owned. Miranda sits rigidly in the passenger seat. Riley and Jackson arrive moments later in their Honda, and I notice Riley's been crying. This is it, the moment where I decide who I'm going to be. Robert greets us in the conference room. I insisted Thomas Brennan be here too. He deserves to know the truth about how Harrison manipulated him. Thank you all for coming, I begin, standing at the head of the table. My voice is steadier than I feel. I've asked you here because there are things that need to be said, truths that need to come out. I place the real will on the table. This is your father's actual last will and testament, signed 3 months before he died, not the 18-month-old version Thomas had on file. Thomas puts on his reading glasses and examines it. His face goes pale. I never saw this document. Carl He didn't come to you because he knew Harrison was fishing for information, I say gently. It wasn't your fault, Thomas. You were manipulated just like I was. Harrison won't meet anyone's eyes. The truth is, I continue, your father left everything to me. The house, the cabin, the savings, in the decision of what you two would inherit. If anything. Riley's hand finds Jackson's under the table. I notice he squeezes back, and I'm glad she told him the truth like I asked. But here's what you didn't know. I slide the mortgage documents across the table. Dad also took out massive loans against both properties. The house you thought was worth $900,000? It has a $1.35 million mortgage. The cabin? $900,000 in debt against a $680,000 value. Miranda grabs the papers, scanning frantically. It means you would inherit properties worth $1.6 million but owe $2.25 million. You'd be $650,000 in debt. Jesus Christ, Jackson mutters. Harrison finally looks up, and there are tears in his eyes. He knew. About everything. I pull out the gambling debt folder. He knew about the $340,000 you owe, Harrison. About the loan sharks threatening you. About why you needed your inheritance so desperately and so quickly. Miranda's gasp is audible. $340,000? I'm sorry, Harrison chokes out. Miranda, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop. I swear I did, but I kept thinking one more win, one more. There is no one more win. Miranda's voice cracks. There never is. How could you lie to me? How could you put us in danger like this? He's not the only one who lied, Riley says quietly. She looks at Jackson. I told you about Technova last night, but everyone else should know too. My company failed 8 months ago. I've been pretending to go to work, sitting in coffee shops, keeping up the illusion that everything was fine. I owe investors $180,000. The room is silent except for Miranda's quiet crying. I suggested the inheritance plan to Riley, Harrison admits, his voice hollow. I told her if we worked together, there'd be enough for both of us to pay our debts and start over. I convinced her to stay quiet during the will reading. I told her if she didn't cooperate, I'd make sure she got nothing. You threatened your own sister? Jackson's voice is ice. I was desperate. These people, the ones I owe money to, they don't just send collection notices. Harrison's voice breaks. I thought Dad owed me. I'm his son. I worked hard my whole life to make him proud, and I thought he owed me something for that. He didn't owe you anything, I say quietly. That's what you never understood. Parents don't owe their children wealth. We owe you love, guidance, and the tools to build your own lives. Your father gave you all of that. What you did with it was your choice. Thomas Brennan speaks up for the first time. Brenda, I apologize. I had no idea Harrison was using our golf games to extract information. I thought he was just being friendly, trying to stay close to his father's affairs. I failed Carl's trust. You didn't know, I tell him. Harrison is very good at manipulation. He learned from the best. His father was an excellent negotiator. But Carl used those skills honestly. Harrison didn't. I take a deep breath. This is it. The moment Carl prepared me for. I've thought long and hard about what to do. I could take everything and leave you both with nothing. God knows you've earned that. Or I could forgive everything and bail you out the way your father and I always did. But neither of those options would teach you anything. I pull out 2 folders I prepared. Harrison, you will not inherit the house, but I will use $300,000 from the Morris Family Trust, money you didn't know existed, to pay off the Tahoe cabin's mortgage, with one condition. His head snaps up. It snaps. What condition? You enroll in an inpatient gambling treatment program. 90 days minimum. No contact with anyone except your therapist and Miranda. When you complete the program, you'll work with a financial counselor for 2 years. After that, you sell the cabin. You use the proceeds to pay off every penny you owe to the loan sharks, the casinos, everyone. Whatever's left after that, if anything, is yours, but you have to earn it by getting help and staying clean. Harrison's crying openly now. I don't deserve this. No, I agree. You don't, but your father believed you could change. I want to believe that too. This is your one chance, Harrison. Your only chance. If you gamble again, if you lie again, if you manipulate anyone in this family again, you're on your own. Do you understand? Yes. It's barely a whisper. Thank you, Mom. I swear I'll... Don't thank me yet. Thank me in 2 years when you've proven you can keep your promises. I turn to Riley. You will not inherit any property, but I will loan you $180,000 interest-free to pay back your investors. Riley's eyes widen. Mom? The loan must be repaid within 5 years. You'll make quarterly payments, and I'll adjust the amount based on your actual income, not what you pretend to make. You're going to start over, Riley. Really start over. Build something real, something honest. And you're going to do it with Jackson's full knowledge and support. Jackson speaks up. Mrs. Morris, I appreciate what you're doing for Riley, but I need to know. Is there anything else she's hiding from me? Riley? I look at my daughter. Is there? She shakes her head. No. I've told him everything. About the company, the debt, about Harrison pressuring me. All of it. Then you have a real chance to rebuild, I tell her. But Riley, this is the last time anyone in this family bails you out. You fail again. You pick yourself up. Understood? I won't fail, Riley says firmly. Not this time. I've learned what it costs. Miranda has been silent, processing everything. Now she looks at me with tears streaming down her face. Brenda, I owe you an apology. The things I said, the way I treated you. I was so focused on the money, on maintaining our lifestyle, I didn't see how much Harrison was hurting, or how much he'd hurt you. You were protecting your husband. I understand that. But Miranda, if you stay with Harrison through this, you need to be strong enough to hold him accountable. No more enabling. No more looking the other way. Can you do that? She looks at Harrison, then back at me. Yes, I can do that. I gather my papers. The house will be sold. I'm downsizing to something I can manage on my own. The medical debts will be paid from the trust. Thomas, I'll need you to handle the paperwork for all of this. Thomas nods. Of course. And Brenda, I'm reducing my fees by 50% for this work. It's the least I can do. As everyone starts to leave, Riley hugs me tight. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. I should have stood up to Harrison. I should have stood up for you. You're standing up now, I tell her. That's what matters. Harrison approaches last, hesitant. Mom, I know I called Dad the old man. I know I said terrible things. The truth is, I was angry at him for years. He worked so much when we were kids, and I felt like he chose his business over me. But then I became exactly like him, obsessed with success, with money, with proving myself. I became the thing I hated. Then don't be that person anymore, I say simply. Be better. That's what your father wanted. It's what he was trying to teach you with all of this. I won't let you down. Don't do it for me, Harrison. Do it for yourself. 6 months later. The coffee shop on J Street is crowded for a Saturday morning, but Harrison spots me immediately. He looks different, thinner, calmer, with clear eyes that actually meet mine when he talks. Mom, he hugs me, and it feels real this time, not performative. You look good, I tell him, and I mean it. I feel good. 92 days sober from gambling. He slides a photo across the table. That's from the program. My sponsor's name is Dave. He calls me every morning. I study the photo of Harrison with a group of men and women, all wearing expressions of hard-won peace. Miranda came to visit every week, he continues, sees. She's been incredible. We're doing couples therapy too, working through everything. And Mom, I started volunteering at a legal aid clinic. The work doesn't pay much, but it feels meaningful, you know? I do know. The cabin's listed. We have an offer for $720,000. After the mortgage is paid off, there's enough left to settle with Vincent Torres and the other creditors. I'll have about $45,000 left. He pauses. I want to invest it in Riley's new business. Riley has a new business? You haven't talked to her? We're meeting for lunch tomorrow. I wanted to give her space to find her footing. Harrison smiles. She's doing great, Mom. Really great. You should hear what she's planning. The next day, Riley arrives at my new condo in Midtown with flowers and a bakery box. I brought your favorite lemon bars from Eateries, she says, looking around my small but bright living space. Mom, this place is lovely. It is lovely. Just 900 square feet, but it's mine, paid in full. The morning light streams through the windows, and I filled it with plants and paintings and books. Tell me about your business, I say as we settle on the couch. Riley's eyes light up. It's called Second Chance Consulting. I help entrepreneurs who failed, like I did, learn from their mistakes and rebuild. I'm not selling them false hope or get-rich-quick schemes. I'm teaching them realistic planning, honest self-assessment, and how to fail forward. That's wonderful, Riley. I've already paid you back $30,000, she continues. I know it's just a fraction of what I owe, but I'm making about $6,000 a month now. Jackson and I made a budget. We downsized our apartment. I'm being honest with him about everything, money, stress, all of it. It's hard, Mom, but it's real. I'm so proud of you. She tears up. I don't deserve your pride yet, but I'm working toward deserving it. She pulls an envelope from her purse. Here's this month's payment, $5,000. I take it, but I've already decided what I'm going to do with every payment she makes. I'm putting it in an account for her, for the day when she really needs it, not for debts or failures, but for something good. Maybe a down payment on a house. Maybe seed money for when she's really ready to start a company the right way. But I don't tell her that yet. She needs to make these payments, needs to prove to herself that she can do hard things. There's something else, Riley says. Harrison told me about his plan to invest in my business. I said no. Why? Because I need to do this on my own. I love my brother, and I'm glad he's getting better. But I need to prove to myself, to Jackson, to you, that I can succeed without anyone's money propping me up. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. 1 year after Carl's death, we're all standing at Carl's grave together. Me, Harrison, Miranda, Riley, and Jackson. The awkwardness that defined our relationships a year ago has softened into something that almost feels like family again. After we pay our respects, we drive to my condo for dinner. I've cooked Carl's favorite, pot roast with vegetables, the recipe his mother taught me when we first got married. Over dinner, Harrison announces he sold the cabin. After everything's settled, I have $45,000 left. I know Riley said no, but I'm investing it in her company anyway. Not as a handout, but as a real investment. I want equity. I want to be part of what she's building. Riley looks stunned. Harrison, I believe in you, sis, and I trust you. That's worth investing in. Miranda adds, we're buying a smaller house. No more trying to keep up appearances. We're building a real life, not a fake one. Jackson raises his glass. To second chances. And to Brenda, Miranda says, her voice thick with emotion, for giving us all a chance to be better than we were. As we're clearing dishes, there's a knock at my door. It's Robert Sullivan. Robert, what are you doing here? I have something for you. He hands me an envelope. Carl's instructions were very specific. I was to deliver this exactly 1 year after his death. Everyone gathers around as I open it with shaking hands. Inside is a letter and a legal document. My dearest Brenda, if you're reading this with our children, it means you did it. You taught them the lesson I couldn't teach, that love doesn't mean accepting everything, but it also doesn't mean abandoning hope. You've passed the test, my love. Now it's time for the real gift. The Morris Family Trust doesn't just contain $890,000. That was just the checking account. There's also an investment account, $1,847,000, set up in a trust that will pay you $90,000 annually for the rest of your life. I kept this secret because I needed you and the kids to face consequences without a safety net. Now that you have, you deserve to rest. One final thing. If our children have truly changed, you may share this with them. If not, keep it for yourself. The choice, as always, is yours. I love you forever, Carl. The document confirms it. Nearly $2 million, generating $90,000 a year, untouchable by anyone but me. Harrison's face goes through several expressions. Shock, understanding, then something like relief. He really did take care of you, even when it looked like he didn't. He took care of all of us, I say quietly. In his own way. Miranda looks at me. What are you going to do with it? I've been thinking about this question since I opened the envelope. About what I want, what I need, what would make my life meaningful. I'm going to turn it into a foundation, I announce. The Morris Family Foundation. $90,000 a year, split 3 ways. $30,000 to the Sacramento Women's Shelter, $30,000 to gambling addiction treatment programs, and $30,000 in grants for entrepreneurs who've failed and want to rebuild honestly. Riley gasps. Mom, that's your security. I have security. I sold the house. I have enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. This money can do more good helping others than sitting in my account. But you earned that money, Harrison protests. Dad wanted you to have it. Your dad wanted me to use it wisely. This is wisdom, turning pain into purpose, turning loss into legacy. Jackson stands up. Mrs. Morris, I need to say something. A year ago, I was angry at you. I thought you were punishing Riley unfairly. Now I understand. You saved her. You saved all of us. You gave us something money can't buy, the chance to become who we were meant to be. I second that, Miranda says softly. Harrison comes around the table and kneels beside my chair. I love you, Mom. I don't think I've said that enough, but I love you, and I'm grateful. For this year, for the hard lessons, for not giving up on me. Riley joins him, taking my hand. You could have destroyed us. You had every right to. Instead, you rebuilt us. That's real love. 3 months later, I'm in the garden behind my condo, planting roses like the ones Carl and I grew together, when my phone buzzes with a text from Riley. Just signed my 50th client. Second Chance Consulting is profitable. Made my quarterly payment early. Check your account. Love you, Mom. Then Harrison. 6 months gambling free. Miranda and I are expecting a baby. Told the little one they're named after the strongest person I know, you. If it's a girl, we're calling her Brenda. I sit back on my heels, dirt under my fingernails, tears on my cheeks, and look up at the sky. We did it, Carl, I whisper. We saved them. A breeze rustles through the roses, and I swear I can feel him smiling. I've learned something this year. The most valuable inheritance isn't money or property. It's not even love, though that matters too. The most valuable inheritance is the courage to become who you're meant to be. Not who others expect, not who you pretend to be, but who you truly are when everything else is stripped away. Carl's final gift wasn't the money. It was showing me my own strength, teaching our children that consequences and redemption can coexist, proving that sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. I'm 62 years old, and I'm just discovering who Brenda Morris really is. Not Carl's wife, though I'll always carry his love. Not Harrison and Riley's mother, though they'll always be my children. Just Brenda, a woman with dirt under her nails and hope in her heart. A woman who learned that you can lose everything and still have enough. That you can be betrayed by the people you love most and still choose forgiveness with conditions. That wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the lives you touch and the legacy you leave. I stand up, brush off my jeans, and go inside to check on the Morris Family Foundation applications. Someone out there is about to get a second chance, just like my children did, just like I did. And that, I realize, is the inheritance Carl really wanted to leave behind. The end. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, it's never too late for a second chance, and it's never wrong to choose both justice and mercy. Comment below what city you're from and what lesson this story taught you. Your story matters too.